Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time it is where you are, whatever time you're able to watch this. We appreciate you being here. We're thrilled to talk about some football. This is the Sons of Dynasty podcast, proud members of the Fantasy Points Media Group. My name, of course, is Nate. You can follow me on Twitter at Nate_FFL. And, while I do lack that smooth Southern twang that my SODFS co-host Dan Brown has, I do possess a bit of a Midwestern vocabulary that's undeniable. So I don't know if that's a good thing, but I bring it to the table. So joining me in the clubhouse tonight is the rest of the Reaper crew and a very, very special guest. It's been a pretty wild offseason. Players have moved, situations have changed. So what does that mean for Dynasty teams? We're here to talk Dynasty buys and sells, players we're looking to obtain, and players we're looking to move on from if a deal can be reached. Before we dive in, though, let me introduce the crew. Of course, on the top right of my screen, to my left, he is the co-founder of this whole damn thing, as well as a member of the Undroppables. It's Beezy B. Beezy, how are you feeling tonight, brother?
What is up, my man? It is a pleasure to be here, as always, with you guys, kicking it back, talking some Dynasty, talking some redraft, whatever we decide to do, whatever we decide to go. Let's crap on some players. Let's have some fun.
Hell yeah, man. I love it. I'm ready to go. Next up is my man, Rusty. He's the newest member of the SOD family. Yeah, he's been quickly promoted from prospect status, and he's earning his stripes. Rusty, what is good, my man?
Not much, man. Excited to be here. Excited to talk some crap with you guys.
Absolutely. Up next is my brother, Coach Craig. He's pretty much the unofficial scout of Sons of Dynasty, possesses a wealth of player knowledge and background far beyond his years and mine. Coach, what is the haps? How have you been?
Yeah, I'm not that young no more, so I wouldn't say far beyond my years.
I mean, you're younger than me, so don't do that to me.
A couple of years.
And last, but certainly not least, we have friend of the show, brother to the brand, Jimbo of the Gold Jackets podcast. Jimbo, it has been a while since we shared the screen together. We're very grateful you could join us. What's the word? Where can everybody find you at?
Oh, man, thank you very much. You can find me at Gold Jacket QBs on Twitter. I drop the random poll every once in a while. I usually start writing an article, then my kids get.
You got the Canadian lag, of course.
I'm just going to say.
I'm sure we will hear plenty from Jimbo in a little bit. So,
but
yeah,
ahead, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, I know that lag was totally me for sure. It's probably going to happen again. I'm really bad. Sorry, man. It must be like some Canadian crappy internet going on right now. But thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, there's no need to apologize, dude. I'm sure wherever you can jump in, we will hear plenty from you. So before we dive into the show, I'm going to throw it over to Beezy, and he's going to tell you a little bit about Fantasy Points and our partnership with them.
Yes, sir. So SOD are proud members of Fantasy Point Live. With our promo code SUNS22, you can catch 10% off at fantasypoints.com. They have a ton of new content coming your way right now, including Graham Barfield's off-season stats pack. Go check it out, because if you ride with Fantasy Points, you'll score more in 2022 and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. We are thrilled to be partnered up with Fantasy Points. The content they're putting out over there is just off the charts. So be sure to go over there, check them out, and definitely use our promo code. So I'd say enough of the admin. You guys ready to talk some football?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, BZ, I'm going to go to you first. For one, this is one of my most intriguing ones myself, so I'm ready to hear from you on this one.
Yeah, man. So we're gonna start off with some buys. At one of my biggest dynasty buys right now, and since last year, has been Travis Etienne. This kid had a great college career. He progressed each year, got better and better. And then he comes into the NFL. He's a first round pick, and Liz Frank injury. And it just seems like everybody it's like your hearts were broken. Now, he was pretty much in everyone's. I've seen people had him as RB1 in the class. I had RB2, RB3, but he was right up there. And the injury was devastating, but the big thing that this did was it got us an opportunity to buy. Here's why. First off, you were looking like, I looked on player profile, just looking at some stats, some stuff like that. His comp was DeAndre Swift. And this feeds right into exactly why you want to buy. This kid is about to eat in the passing game something fierce. As we all know, targets are worth more than carries. So as many targets as this kid can get is It's there. You know, he's playing with Lawrence, so they played together in college, so they've got a good chemistry already. You know, this Jaguars team is rebuilding. This got a new coach, you know, brand new receivers, the works. So there's a lot going on there. The other big thing is that defense is still going to be booty. So they are going to be trailing in a lot of games, which is going to mean Lawrence is going to have to get that ball down the field quick to keep them into anything. And this is where I think ETN is really going to come into play. And that's, you know, in that passing game, he could easily see 100 targets this year, in my opinion, but he's no slouch in the running game either. He has 3-down potential. Absolutely. He's, you know, the only thing I didn't like about him is he got taken down a lot on first contact. That's him. Other than that, though, I think the kid has a lot of potential. There's James Robinson. Who knows where he's going to be? Snoop Connor. I mean, you know, maybe Snoop-a-Doo comes in and make some noise here a little bit. We've seen crazier things happen in Jacksonville, but at this point in time, right now, if you're looking at a guy that you want to buy, who right now in most spots that I've seen has been the RB19 on most sites, he is going in the 5th round of most drafts, and he's an absolute smash at where he is at right now, with the potential to just, you're not going to get him at this value next year. If you had gotten him beforehand, like we had talked about, and got him in the season when he was injured, you would be sitting on a gold mine, because all his value did was go, and it's still going up. So ETN is he's going to be my buy, but at this point, this is probably your last chance to catch him before he starts to get into kind of like a weird territory where you don't want to touch him anymore.
Yeah, I've seen the Twitter sphere, you know, and even some of my friends in my home league, there's a lot of people torn on ETN. And I think, you know, I didn't really understand. I don't think any of us did when Jacksonville went out and took him in the first round, you know, drafting a pass catching running back when they already had James Robinson. But the fact is his skill set's there. And I'm one of the people that is in on ETN myself. So before we move on, though, Coach, I was kind of wanting to get your opinion on ETN. Where you at with him? You buying, you selling?
Yeah, so I think now if you're going to buy, now is still probably the time. I think there's a couple of good points that we need to talk about with Jacksonville in general, though, is Doug Peterson being the new head coach. And he typically likes to use running back by committee. But the good thing for ETN, at least this year, is there isn't much competition. They brought Snoop Connor. He might get some short yards work, some goal line work. They have Raquel Armstead they brought back too now. He unfortunately had a very, very long stint with COVID. So it'd be great to see him back on the football field once again. I think a lot of people really think like James Robinson is just going to bounce back from this Achilles this year and play. And like the earliest he probably returns is November. I don't think he plays all year. And this is the last year of his 3-year contract. So I don't think he's around. And he's not a guy that was super explosive to start with. Then you add an Achilles on top of that. Those guys just don't pan out after that. So the big concern would just be if they add somebody else next off season. But if you can buy him now, get a good season out of him, flip him for something better, why not?
Yeah, I totally agree. Rusty, real quick, you don't have to go in depth. Buy or sell. That's all I need to know.
I am buying.
Buying. Hell yeah.
I agree.
All right, Coach. So your guy is probably the deepest person on this list. So I'm definitely interested to hear what you got to say about it. KJ Osborne, what do you got?
Yeah, so I'm just going to preface this by saying last year, before the season started on the Point After podcast, I'm like, pick up KJ Osborne after Smith went down because they're probably going to play more 3 wide receiver sets. He was free. He was owned in like 2% of Dynasty leagues or rostered in 2% of Dynasty leagues. So, like, if you had him last year and you got him, there's probably a point last year when he was kind of on his roll that you could have traded him for probably like a late 2nd round pick. So that's kind of what you're looking for now. Like you're talking about a guy that comes in at ECR wide receiver 91, which is ridiculous, by the way. ADP wide receiver 76 in Dynasty startups. He's only going to turn 25 in a couple days. As a rookie, he only returned punts. That's the only thing he did for him. So, you know, there's a little bit of athleticism there. He had success at both the university or at Buffalo and college. Really good player for 3 years there. Transfers to Miami and Florida. Obviously a much bigger school. I love seeing these guys like this come in and be able to play at a higher level of competition. You don't see it all the time, but he was able to do it, win in the 5th round. As I mentioned, didn't do anything besides punt return as a rookie, play some special teams. Last year, he had 82 targets, 50 receptions, 655 yards, 7 touchdowns, and only 1 drop on 82 targets. So the guy's got good hands. He doesn't drop anything. So as long as it's in his area, he's going to catch it. He had 7 games of double-digit PPR points in 2021. Granted, Adam Thielen was around for some of those games. He's got decent athletic profile. You can probably get him for a 3rd-round rookie pick at this point in time. You might be able to dangle a 4th out there and somebody stupid and trades him away too. Adam Thielen is going to be 32 years old in August and has been injured in 2 of the past 3 years. The Vikings can easily move on from him after this year. They didn't really bring in any other competition. I know there's some people out there on Twitter that love Amir Smith-Marset for some reason, but obviously we saw he wasn't very good last year. And if you watched his Iowa tape, you would have known that. But that's a whole other story for a different day. Alex O'Connell coming in over as the head coach, loves to use 3 wide receiver sets. If you look back at the Rams last year, they ran 3 wide receiver sets probably more than anyone else in the league, maybe besides like the Cardinals. So there is a great opportunity there. So he's going to be on the field. And the only, he doesn't have competition for this 3rd wide receiver role because he's already proven what he can do out there on the field. And when Adam Thielen moves on, this is a guy that can play inside. He can play outside too. So there's no concerns there. And I think another guy, if you're trying to look for a sleeper that got drafted this year, Jalen Naylor out of Michigan State, I think that kid's going to be really good once Thielen moves on, if they don't bring anybody else, and then he could play the slot. And all 3 of those guys could, you're talking about Jefferson, who played slot in college. You're talking about Osborne that can play some slot. Thielen can play some slot. Naylor can play on the outside and play the slot. So they have very versatile pieces there.
Yeah, I like it a lot, man. So I obviously was doing a little bit of deeper research into KJ Osborne, and I love that O'Connell's coming in. There's a lot of talk on Twitter and things on how much, Minnesota will go to a more heavy passing attack, but I fully believe they do. I love the opportunity there. We talked about opportunity a lot on the rookie show, and I think you nailed it here. It was excellent choice. Jimbo, you with us, man?
Yeah.
Awesome. Just wanted to make sure, bud. Before we get to your guy Brandon Cooks, are you buying the KJ Osborne? You interested at all?
Oh, he must have froze.
It's not that serious.
Well, I'll jump in real fast too. I love the KJ Osborne call, man. He was by far one of the best waiver wire pickups mid-season last year. He was definitely one of those guys that you could flex if you were making a push, and you were happy with it. So if you held on to him and you got through this year and you didn't cut him in the offseason, you got a nice wide receiver on your hands that you can just pop on your bench and see how their season unrolls. I love this call.
Rusty, you interested in KJ Osborne at all?
As a Vikings fan, I think I have to be, but
you're supposed to separate that, my
friend.
friend.
I'm totally on board with that. I was really happy that Coach picked him. When I saw that, I was just like, all right, let's go with this. So it was nice to hear some information on him because he's just not really talked about anywhere. So yeah, that was some good stuff there by Coach.
Oh, yeah. So while we wait for Jimbo to get sorted a little bit, if he can, we're going to move on to you, Devin, and your guy, Rashad Bateman, somebody I'm very interested in.
Yes, absolutely. It was really hard not to pick on this one, being a Vikings fan. And I've gone to the Gopher games. I've seen him play before. Instantly fell in love with this kid. And, I scooped him up pretty much everywhere in those rookie drafts when he came out. And then had my heart broken a little bit when he got hurt. He only played 12 games last year. We still got just about over 500 yards and a touchdown. Hollywood Brown was obviously, a factor there. Mark Andrews just gobbling up all the targets. But now Hollywood's gone, and his only other competition is Duvernay, maybe Wallace. I know, Coach, you like him. And I think they might bring someone in, but you just don't know. I have them everywhere, so I don't really need to buy. So that was kind of interesting for it. But I some different trades made for them. Like one guy got Patterson from straight up. I would smash that all day. An interesting one, Nate, that I would like maybe your input on was I saw Jamison Williams for Bateman straight up. Again, I don't hate Williams at all. Like me some JMO, but I think I would still smash the Bateman on that one.
That's a tough one, man. That's a really, really good question. I would actually, I think I would go Bateman too. You can't deny Bateman's talent. I think Williams is talented too. He is coming off an injury, and we don't know how that's going to affect him. So if I had a gun to my head there and had to make a choice, I would probably actually swing Bateman. In my honest opinion.
I think Coach disagrees. Coach shaking his head. Smash on JMO.
I think we all probably agree. Beezy, where you at on Bateman?
I've always said this one, you got to buy the talent over the situation. And this was exactly why you wanted to get Bateman last year, because none of us really saw Marquise Brown getting traded, for a little bit, at least until it happened. So that was just like that just blew the lid off everything. But, again, the kid had a great profile coming in. I was excited for him. Again, the Lamar doubt was a little bit there, but I liked him a lot, and I did make some buys when I got some buys. So,
yeah, you nailed it there. You just said it. We should have got him last year. I should have had more shares. I got him as much as I could, but unfortunately there was a lot of other people on him too. So I didn't get as lucky as I would have liked. Jimbo, are you with us, bud?
Let's see if I don't. I want to see if we don't lag this time. I have no idea what's happening. This has never happened this bad before to me. Rusty, man, I love the bait. I was actually shocked that you could get on for Patterson straight up. I'm a big fan of Bateman, like I said, even more so now that Hollywood's gone, as we all alluded to. Prior to that, I wasn't sure there was enough passing pie seemed to be significant. I did evaluation and talent. Gun to my head, though, I'd actually be taking Jameson Williams or Rashad Bateman just because I think the talent's a little better. I liked Jameson Williams a little bit better, and I think the passing work, there's going to be a bigger piece of the pie. I think he can be the true number one in the Detroit offense on that situation, and I'm not scared of Jared Goff. This is a situation with you got to buy the year before they get out from under somebody, and that opportunity opens up wide open for me. So that one I'd be taking Jameson Williams, but another other aspect of it, I'm on the Bateman side. It's just that one trade I'd probably be taking on myself personally, but I'm a big fan of Bateman myself though too.
Absolutely.
I also apologize if I went over anything that anybody else already said, because I hear it.
No, you're good, man. That's, you're fine. We've all had internet issues. That happens, man. But why don't you go ahead and tell us about your buy while your internet's still with us?
All right. So my buy is Brandon Cooks. There seems to be a stick with this guy thinking that he's in like the Julio Jones range age of 32. Well, actually, he's not. He's actually younger than Cup. He's effective and efficient when it comes to any type of wide receiver or a quarterback he's played. Never finished lower than a wide receiver in a non-injury riddled season since 2015. Last year was a target hog on Houston with 4th in the league with air share at 36% and 9th in the league in target 24%. So top 2 in statistical categories that lead to opportunity with a team that may not be great for football, but guess what, man? Garbage time points count too. And I might be thinking to me, okay, Jim, like I'm crazy because he had QB, now he's with Davis Mills, but I don't give a shit. Last 5 games, Davis Mills was a starter. This was a top 10 quarterback, putting up in his final 5 stats, built a rapport with Davis in the same 5 games. Last 4 games. Mills Cooks was top 10 in points with 15 points a game and a target share per route run at 6%. These can't get ignored. They didn't increase they didn't add any competition to him. It's him and Nico Collins, a bunch of tight ends you never heard of, and a lot of scrub bums of running. I don't see them icing the game out with running. I see them playing catch up a lot of times in this season, and I don't think Cody agrees with me there, but Brandon Cooks is that I'm looking to get to. Might be harder actually than I anticipated prior to the show, but still throw out there in the leagues. 1 out of every 4 leagues, buddy, you can get him for a 23-second, and value that he's going to give you on your team is greater than you'll get it from trading him off your team if you own him. So if you own him, I'm away. If you don't own him, he's a sneaky guy to get onto your squads as a bye week filler or a wide receiver 3. A lot of teams that I play on, you're having to start 3 wide receivers. So Brandon Cooks is a wide receiver 3. Fantastic to me, like wide receiver 20 or wide receiver 13. That's his money range. Grady. He usually hits around 231, 232 points a year, around that range. He's consistent. You know what you're getting. Not getting the wide receiver 1, but guess what? You're going to get high-end wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 spot, that's for sure.
Brandon Cooks is pretty much a guy that's been, hasn't really gotten the respect he deserves for years and years now. So I don't mind the Cooks call at all. Two guys I'm really interested to hear from on this. Coach, as a Texans fan, what do you feel about it?
I mean, it's a good pick. I'm going to say two things real quick, though. Yes, he's younger than Cooper Kupp, but it's by a month. So there is that.
Hey,
so
how many more seasons has he played in the NFL, though?
Yeah.
How many more seasons has he
Cooper
played in
Kupp
the NFL?
came into the NFL. Cooper Kupp might have less tread on his tires. You could argue that, too. So we'll see. In that
He was
regard.
24 dominating 18-year-olds.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna say too. You just kind of disrespected John Mechie completely, like he doesn't exist, because you're like all these other guys. And just not even mention the second round pick guy. We'll just skip right over him. And I'm not even like a big Mechie fan or anything, but I mean, like he's gonna be a decent little slot receiver. I don't think he's gonna take away from Cooks or anything like that. Probably takes away from Nico more.
That's my point. That's my point. He's not. They didn't have anybody to threaten Cooks with that. You know what I mean? Like the share is there.
And they gave him an extension. So I think if you're and they gave him that 2-year extension too, which pretty decent money. It's not as big as some of these other wide receivers got, obviously, but I think it was 15.5 million they gave him a year. So not chump change by any means. So they're going to plan on using him. Obviously, he was pretty good last year. He had 90 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So if you do that with Tyrod Taylor and Davis Mills, you hope Davis Mills gets better this year. Not sure whether or not he's going to be the guy long term, personally, but if I have him, I'm trying to sell Davis Mills. And if you have Brandon Cooks, if you're a contender, you keep him. If you don't, you're kind of getting rid of him. But if you're a contender and you need an extra piece, I don't have a problem getting him.
Devin, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah. I mean, you guys pretty much nailed it. I mean, he just seems like he's the forgotten guy year after year, and he just comes out and produces, even with Tyrod Taylor and Davis Mills. And he's there and he produces, and he just goes under the radar. And I do like, Jim, that you put those polls out. I thought those were pretty entertaining, and just to kind of nice to see how the Twitter thinks about all those different situations. I think I smashed Cooks on all of those. And the one that I wouldn't do was, I'm really high on A-Rob, so I would have taken that, and I think Twitter agreed, the 56 to 44%. But I love A-Rob this year, so that's probably the only one that I think I smashed the opposite on.
Yeah, Jimbo, that was an excellent poll, by the way, while we're talking about it. So shout out to you for that. Beezy, you got any thoughts on
I'll drop something. Yeah, I'll drop something real quick. I've loved Brandon Cooks. I mean, how many years is he just going to be a value in every single draft that we do? It's ridiculous. But here's the deal with Brandon Cooks. I put out a tweet probably a few months ago, but Davis Mills. I mean, is he the future? We have no idea. He probably is not. But if he wants to be the future, he has got to have an amazing season right now, and he has really got to take the next step. How is he going to take the next step? He's going to get the ball in the Brandon Cooks' hands. That is how he is going to be able to keep his game going. Now, the Texans are probably not going to have a very good record, and they're probably going to have a top 5 pick, which is probably a top 3 pick. Let's just go with it. So that's gonna really hurt Mills potentially. But if Mills can somehow get this offense ignited, and he can continue to just pummel Cooks and get them going, and at least get a few more games where they get possibly out of that quarterback range, he might survive his second year, but it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I agree. So we're gonna move into my guy, our final buy, and I'm really interested to get your guys' feedback on this, good or bad. But my buy is gonna be Devontae Smith, wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. Second-year player. He's sitting right now as the Dynasty expert consensus ranked wide receiver 24. I personally have him a little bit higher than that. So I was obviously high on Smith, really high on Smith when they entered the draft last year. If I was trying to acquire Smith, and I am, it's more on my rebuilding teams. As soon as the draft was over this year, he fell as low as wide receiver 27. when A.J. Brown was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. We've seen him start to bounce back a little bit since that time. It's been kind of fluctuating, but coming out of college, obviously he was lacked for his size. He's not a big guy. He's doesn't carry a lot of weight on him. But what you do year one as an NFL rookie is a really good sign. He was one of 4 players ever to get a 7+ rating from Lance Zierlein since 2013. And the other names mentioned, take it as you will, Sammy Watkins, Amari Cooper, and Jamar Chase. So I love the Lance Zierlein grading scale. I think that's an excellent sign. His year 2 fantasy, or his points per game last year, 10.92 points per game. He had a PFF score of 72.6 and a 22% target share on a team with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback, a guy that gets knocked quite often for his throwing ability. Despite all that, his average depth of target was 15+ yards. And then I wanted to read you guys a quote from the great Matt Harmon reception perception. He says, "It's plain as day that Smith is already a good route runner and a high-end separator. He gets open at any level and across a variety of coverages. That's a trump card trait." So for me personally, I'm buying Smith. I know that Brown comes in, but I think he's just going to open up the Philadelphia offense for Smith to have an even more productive season. I like right now that people see him ranked a little bit lower than I have him, because that gives me the opportunity to attempt to go out and buy. I think Philly probably throws a lot more this year. The best teams in the league are passing well. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Chargers, Tampa Bay, they're all throwing a lot. And I think Philadelphia is going to start to do the same. But this is with Dynasty, this is a long game play for me. So I'm trying to acquire Devontae Smith if I can. There's one trade that I did actually see completed just a couple days ago. It was Zach Ertz and the 112 for next year for Devontae Smith in the 208. If that was me, I get that Zach Ertz is going to probably be the target leader in Arizona until DeAndre Hopkins comes back after 7 weeks. But I'm still thinking long-term, and I'm taking Smith. So I'm very interested to see what you guys all think. I'll probably throw it around the room a little bit. Well, we'll start with you, Coach. Are you buying or selling Devontae Smith?
Yeah, so I was all in on buying him pre-NFL draft, and then the price now is potentially lower with A.J. Brown in the building, obviously. And the person that I think personally that's most affected by A.J. Brown in a negative way is Dallas Goedert, because that's the middle of the field area. That's where A.J. Brown's going to work and get some of the after catch and stuff too. I don't think Devonta Smith's going to be the one that really takes a hit, and I'm staying far, far away from Dallas Goedert at this point in time, especially in redraft this year. He's like tight end 6, and I just don't get it. Like, it's just like one of those guys. It's like we always expect more from him, and it's just never there. And there's a couple of big games every once in a while. And, the best thing you can say about Devonta Smith too is either Jalen Hurts, he balls out this year, or they probably just go get somebody better, and it's just going to make Devonta Smith's situation even better. He, as you alluded to, he was a very elite route runner coming out of college, probably the best route runner we've seen coming out of college since probably Amari Cooper, I would say. And, some people might debate that, but this dude knows how to get open. Obviously, there were some weight concerns, but the dude he does all the weight that he does have on his body is pretty much all muscle at the same time too. So it's not too big a concern for me. I'm still buying discounted price. I pretty much had him in everywhere I needed him last year anyway, so I probably don't have to buy as much as I would, but I'm still all in on buying.
Yeah, that's my thing is he could possibly be my highest owned player out of all my leagues, but I'll go around the group here clockwise just to see if you have anything on it. Jimbo, do you have any thoughts on Devontae Smith? Would you buy or sell?
Oh, I'd buy him. I'd be buying a heartbeat. I'd be buying him, especially now that A.J. Brown's there. I found probably the biggest knock on Smith was he doesn't have a nice counterpart on the other side he can up himself. He can separation himself, but it really helps when you got an A.J. Brown on the field with you too. A defense has got to line up with. So if the price is going down on him, which is unbelievable to me, I'm buying even more of them. Yeah, absolutely. I love this kid.
Oh yeah. Beezy, any thoughts? Buy or sell?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, his price might drop even a little bit lower here after he took that picture with Hutchinson, the young fantasy mind on Twitter. I mean,
I saw that.
I was just like, whoa, man. So, he's a buy, man. He was a buy. The minute AJ Brown got traded, you started adding him. I got about 4 shares recently, and I hope to get a few more as we go, but absolute buy.
And Rusty, any thoughts on Devontae Smith?
Yeah, I'm buying. I mean, I think one of the big things too is the AJ Brown stuff, but then also if you believe in Hurts or not, but then like Coach said, if they could just get someone else next year, and the situation would be even better. So yeah, I would buy.
Excellent. So with that, we are at the bottom of the hour. We are running right on time. So we are going to transition into our dynasty sells, guys that we're looking to move if we can, or maybe guys that we're just not buying if that's the case. So we're going to move into our sells, and we're going to start with my man Coach and Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, I'm going to say one thing more about Devonta just real quick too. He had 4 touchdowns that were called back due to penalty away from the play that had no effect on the actual play last year. So you add that to the 900 some yards he had, he would have been over 1,000 yards and had 9 touchdowns, and people will be talking a lot differently about him at this point in time. It's just the fact that Jamar Chase came out and did what he did, and then Waddle had, the rookie record for receptions. If he just does that, more people are talking about this dude. And we're just so used to these guys breaking out right away, but he still had a damn good rookie year.
He did.
But in terms of the sells, mine's Deebo Samuel. He is coming in at Dynasty expert consensus ranking wide receiver 7, consensus ADP wide receiver 6 in startups. And this might be the highest his value ever is. Like, we've seen him take some running back carries, get some touchdowns last year. He doesn't want to do that, apparently, either way. There's some risk that he holds out for a contract. Brandon Naiuk really had a reemergence down the stretch last year, too. He actually ended up outscoring Deebo in like most of the games, too. You have a potentially new quarterback in Trey Lance. They're probably going to try to run the ball a little bit more with Trey Lance at quarterback. And he's dealt with injuries 6 out of the past 7 seasons, going back to his freshman year in college. He's missed at least 1 game. He's had 1 healthy year in there, and that was his big year in college. So what you're talking about is a guy that really broke out last year, probably not going to hit that ceiling once again. And if you can sell him right now, you might as well take all full advantage of it.
Yeah, the situation with Deebo has been a very interesting one, to say the least. He's definitely not going anywhere out of San Francisco. So I'll throw it around to a couple of you guys here. Devin, what are your thoughts on Deebo Samuel?
Yeah, I mean, he nailed it. His price might not be any higher than it is right now. And if you can get some major keys back for it, I mean, I would jump all over that. And, I'm a big Brandon Naiuk guy too. So, but yeah, you nailed it. Just get what you can from him. If the price is high, jump all over it and don't look back.
Yeah, I love Ayuk too.
I was going to say too, I haven't seen any recent trades, but I mean, like, if you can get like a 23 first plus like another decent asset for Deebo Samuel, I think you should jump on it at this point in time.
Which I think you could, definitely.
I think you could as well. Beezy, any thoughts on Deebo?
Coach nailed it, my man. His price is through the roof, and he is an absolute sell. You got what he did last year was incredible. There's no doubt about that. And Deebo's a stud, but this ain't happening again. And people got to get that into their head that it's not happening again. So you make that move, you get rid of him, and trust me, you'll be a lot happier.
Jimbo, you selling as well?
Oh, absolutely. I'm selling for all the reasons that Beezy and Coach already just discussed. That was a unicorn season for the man. Is he talented? Absolutely. Did you just see his ceiling? Yeah, you did. Is he 9 times out of 10, his value is going to depreciate next offseason. So why hold the depreciating value when you can get someone on the up and up, like your Devontae Smith plus?
So that
would be something I'd even be thrown out.
Yeah, that is a hard sell from the group on Deebo Samuel. We are going to move on into our next guy. It's a guy that had the all 5 of us talking a lot before the show started. Devin, why don't you give us your sell?
Yep, so my sell is Gabe Davis. I'll try and squeeze a couple things in here before I toss it to the Wolves. Because, yeah, we were chatting up about it prior to the show. And that's why I picked him, is because I think, just seeing on Twitter and everything, it's so split between this guy. You're either in or you're out on him. And I'm out on him. I mean, I think the upside is there. He has one of the best quarterbacks in the league throwing him the ball. But I think kind of in a sense like Debo, that his price right now it's not as high as Debo, obviously, but it is pretty high. And I kind of want to take advantage of that. And I would sell. So, he had that big game last year with the Chiefs. And I think that kind of skyrocketed some things. I know, Coach, we were talking before that, you're not a big believer with Crowder coming in and taking over. Last year, Gabe Davis was competing with, Manny Sanders and Cole Beasley. And I do think that this year will be a little bit different with Crowder coming in. I do think that he's going to take some of those targets away. And I think that he can, he's not going to go away. He's going to be there. I just around his ADP. Sorry,
No, you're fine.
With his ADP where it's at, there's just other guys that I'm interested in. I would take. I mean, obviously Bateman over him. I would take. I would even take a Mooney. I would take. Brandon Naiuk. These are guys that I would easily take over him. I don't really know exactly how much. I think that totally varies how much you're going to be able to trade him away for. I don't know if you get a 23 first. I don't know. But, if that were the case, I would smash that. But, I'll toss it over to you guys. Go ahead.
I'll let you guys go at it. Is there anybody that would like to throw their 2 cents in on the selling of Gabe Davis?
I'll jump in real fast. My guy Jax Falcone over at the Undroppables. You guys probably seen he does the anatomy of a top 24 wide receiver, and Gabe Davis. He fit a lot of this, other than like draft capital and a few other spots here. So, he's interesting because. I'm not drafting him because his cost is kind of ridiculous right now. But if you got him on your team, you got a choice to make. You can either keep him and, let him develop again, which I think he could, and take another step. Or you can see what you can get. Now, I haven't seen a lot of crazy trades where there's this big value coming back on Gabe Davis, really. So I don't think people are buying him because they're taking the juice with Josh Allen and the big 4-game touchdown, but I think at this point, if you have him, you got to hold him in drafts, sit back, let somebody else take him, and, maybe dangle out a few offers afterwards and like a package deal of some sort if you want to get him. But I wouldn't sell him right now because I just don't think you're going to get the value back that you really want.
That is that's absolutely fair. Jimbo, you got any thoughts or a simple buy or sell?
For wide receiver 40, that doesn't seem too bad for me. Most of the guys, though, that already have Gabe Davis, they're Gabe Davis truthers. So you're probably the one in your league like myself that already went and got him. Don't be concerned about Jamison Crowder. Those targets for Crowder aren't affecting Beasley, in my say. Those are affecting the Beasley targets that were there. The big thing for me that I was looking for in the offseason for Gabe Davis was if they got rid of Manny Sanders. Now, the word on the street was they brought in Manny Sanders for one reason only, and that was because they wanted to develop Gabe Davis a little bit better from his rookie season to sophomore season, and get him working out a little bit more nuances. So when they were willing to walk away from Manny Sanders, that said everything I needed to know that Buffalo has the confidence in Gabe Davis, but then to that effect, he's still the number 2 there. It's the Stephon Diggs show. You're really going to be counting on red zone, end zone work. Like the guy's a monster in the red zone. He was like that at UCF. I love this kid coming out. I ended up spotting him because I was watching the game for Cortland Sutton, actually, and this kid was popping off the tape. But you're not gonna like Easy says, you're not gonna get the value back if you're selling them. If you had them, you probably paid a little bit more. You probably went up to get them because you believed in the talent. I'm not a believer in sunken cost fallacy. I am a believer in sunken cost fallacy. Like, don't stick to that just because you drafted a guy at 106. If he's whatever value, whatever, that's fine. I don't care after a draft, but you probably did invest into him. You do believe in him. You've seen the pieces that he can have, so you're not going to get the value back that you really want. I agree with Beezy. He's more of a hold, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach, you got anything you'd like to add, or?
Yeah, so I got a couple different points. Some of them come off of what Jim said too. I think the reason we're not seeing a lot of traction now is because a lot of people that believed in Gabe Davis coming into this year traded for him this offseason. Now they see the opportunity again. So they're just like, it ain't worth it unless somebody really blows me away with an offer. I don't think this ADP of like wide receiver 38 is that bad of a price tag overall. I think he's definitely got the capability of finishing inside the top 30 wide receivers this season. There's 72 targets vacated from Emmanuel Sanders. Most of those are probably going to go to Gabe Davis. There's 112 from Cole Beasley. Those are going to go to your Jameson Crowder, your Isaiah McKenzie, and your Khalil Shakir. And I've seen people out here on Twitter worrying about Jameson Crowder and Khalil Shakir. Jameson Crowder's a vet who does have a history of getting banged up. Khalil Shakir is a 5th-round pick that you should not be worried about at this point in time. So there's a lot of opportunities still there. If you really, really want to sell Gabe Davis, I would wait until he has a big blow-off game in the season and then move off of him from there, because then you're going to capitalize on that value a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. I will say that one trade I did see was Gabe Davis and DJ Chark for Deontay Johnson, which I would smash the Johnson side, I think. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that.
I take Deontay.
That I take Deontay too. That trade I loved. And that was a trade. My buddy was asking, he's a Bills fan. He has Davis. He's a truther. And I just happened to peep him that trade. I was like, listen, if you got Chark, like you might be able to pull one off for Deontay. He's like, not a chance. I said, listen, I know a guy that says he's seen it happen in the league, and he immediately went out and started trying to make that trade happen. I go, listen, man, like you don't know. Like, yeah, sure, 90% of leagues might not end up doing it, but you could be in that 10% of leagues. You have no idea. Cast a wide net when it comes to trading. Don't worry about offending the other guy, because guess what? He doesn't give a shit about your team and if you're winning. His job is to beat you, and that's it. He'll send the dirtiest trades back to you too. Don't worry about it, man. That's the game.
Well,
Yeah, you did. Go ahead, Coach.
I was going to say, well, like that's what you said too. Jim was a good point. Like, even though you had those polls on Twitter and Twitter values Brandon Cooks higher, but you got to remember, these are a lot of people that constantly are reminded Brandon Cooks is underrated. Your casual dynasty league might not value him quite as much. Could be like the same thing for Gabe Davis, or somebody in your casual dynasty league. So, he got 4 touchdowns against the Chiefs, although it was against like Rashad Penny and Mike Hughes, who just aren't good corners. But no offense, Jim. That was their weakness on their defense all year, except for when Sorensen was on the field. So that side of the field was just kind of a problem for them, and a lot of wide receivers took it, and a lot of teams took advantage of that. And so his 4-touchdown game was not like that big of a surprise. It's not going to be like that every week. So like that was the perfect time to sell, or after a big game this time. But sometimes you got to remember, there's casual people in these leagues that don't follow a lot of stuff, but they just see one big playoff game because they were watching because it was the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's totally fair. You guys definitely covered that really well. All I'll say on it is I would also side on the Deontay side. I think a lot of people are just a little bit worried about the volume he's going to get in Pittsburgh with Big Ben gone, and the possibility that they go to a little bit more of a run-heavy attack. But I agree with all you guys fully. So we're going to move on into my guy. Keep the show moving along. My sell, I'm interested to get all of your guys' feedback. That is one of the perks of being friends with you folks and the host of the show today, is I get advice because, hey, I am not the smartest guy in this room. My sell is going to be Antonio Gibson. Gibson was a guy that I liked very, very, very much entering his rookie season in Washington. He's 6'2", 220 pounds, is a very versatile running back. He's entering his 3rd year. But as much as Washington raves about Gibson that we read and that we hear, the fact is they went out, they did spend a day 2 draft pick on another running back in Brian Robinson, despite having J.D. McKissick, and another guy that they even seem to like in Jarrett Patterson. So he played wide receiver in college. He's got the size, as I mentioned, and the speed of, a typical 3-down bell cow running back. His receiving numbers to me last year looked pretty decent, but I don't think they were really what they appear. He had 3 targets per game with McKissick healthy, 4.6 per game without him. He's coming off 2 RB2 finishes in a career that, it should have had a lot of promise. And, I'm not saying that he's not going to reach that potential, but I think we're starting to lose the lack of upside that I originally seen. I think right now, without any injuries, his role kind of looks like an expensive RB2, similar to Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery. So, I don't hate Gibson at all. I love the kid to death, but if I can move him, depending on what I can get, I am very open to it. A couple things that I was maybe thinking of, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, feel free, but if you could cash out on Gibson with a move like Antonio Gibson in a 2023 second for maybe Justin Fields, or in Lance, or like some kind of combination of that. I did have a buddy that proposed a trade in another league, and everybody kind of went back and forth on it. It was Gibson and a first for Devonta, which I love Devontae Williams. And then a trade that I did see completed was Dalton Schultz and Mark Gibson for Mark Andrews. I think that deal, could get done in other leagues as well. So, for me, in redraft, I might take a chance on him. In Dynasty, I'm probably just going to look to sell if I can get him while he's still, the ranked as the RB 15. So curious to see, what all you guys think. We will start with Jimbo. What do you got on it?
Oh man, I love that sell call there, Nate. Like ever since Gibson was entered in the league, he was touted as Washington's version of CMC. I've yet to see it. Touted, a wide receiver in college. He should be getting the passing down work. But guess who else is a wide receiver in college and is quite capable of doing that? Such it was J.D. Nastic. I'm worried because, like you said, they spent the day two capital on a banger, and Brian Robinson might not be like a 3-down thumper, but the guy can pound. So what's really left? You got a nice passing down specialist. You got a thumper in between. Everything that's saying with this Washington team that is not going to be blowing teams out of the water, I think, in icing games, is saying that they want to limit his workload. So if you can get out from under him with a trade like Gibson, Dalton Schultz, who was an absolute monster in tight end premium leagues, and down the stretch to get a bona fide set and forget a tight end in a position that is so hard to come by with only 4, maybe 5 guys, really 4 guys this year, 3 guys in Dynasty that are really set and forgets. I love that. I'd be smashing that all day long. I'm not a big believer in Gibson. The only way I see him like really come back to value is if with this ragtag bunch of wide receivers, they actually decide to start putting out 2 back sets or putting back into the slot with J.D. McKissic and Brian Robinson on the same time. Like, I don't know their play weapons that they really have that are going to be threatening defenses and keeping defensive coordinators up at night. So maybe that's their best option to do it, but I don't see them being smart enough either to get him on the field with J.D. McKissic in the slot, right? Like that's just my feeling on it, but could be wrong.
I'm totally with you. I think we're on the same page. I will just ask the group as a whole, does anybody else have anything to add on Antonio Gibson and the sell?
Of course I do. So I will say too, off that point, Jimmy, you're making and putting him and Gibson out there on the field at the same time. They still have Jahan Dotson, they still have Terry McLaurin, they still have Curtis Samuel. Once Logan Thomas is healthy, it's hard to take some of those guys off if they're all healthy at the same time for putting those 2 running backs out there. I love that you mentioned that J.D. McKissic was actually a 4-year wide receiver at Arkansas State, because most people don't realize that or don't mention it. And I will say this about Antonio Gibson. He played wide receiver for 1 year as a pseudo wide receiver at Memphis too. He was a JUCO running back, transfers to Memphis, mainly just kick returns and plays some special teams his junior year. Senior year plays a little bit wide receiver, a little bit running back, kind of back and forth, but he really wasn't that. And I think it's funny, like people don't bring up Tony Pollard playing wide receiver at Memphis more often. And it sounds like the Cowboys are actually going to try to use him more in the slot this year. So that's going to be something that's really interesting too. But as far as Antonio Gibson, I think people really missed the mark to sell him when J.D. McKissic was rumored to go to Buffalo. I think that was the perfect time to sell him. I put out a post, or I guess it was a tweet technically, saying sell him now. And people are like, why? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, because his value is never going to be higher. So I think now, like, you're kind of in this weird window. It's like, do you sell him now or do you wait for a big game? I think maybe you're better off waiting for that big game, but I would be very, very worried if J.D. McKissic gets to the passing down work. If Brian Robinson, who actually is a pretty elusive for a bigger back, according to, the PFF college stats, I don't have them all right in front of me, but he evaded a lot of tackles for a guy that was his size. So if you get him in there in the short yardage distance, the touchdowns, and what you got left for Antonio Gibson, the between the 20s work and a couple long runs that break off, you're looking at Raheem Mostert in that case. Do you want Raheem Mostert on your fantasy team? No.
That's a great point, man. I love that. I mean, and I was kind of going down the same little hole you were going down, but the coaching staff and this team, they told you everything you needed to know when they went out and they drafted Brian Robinson. They brought back McKissick and all this kind of stuff. They don't believe he is a 3-down back. Unfortunately, they are going to scale his workload back something fierce. So unless there's an injury, he's definitely taking a hit. Your best bet at this point is to, in my opinion, is to hold tight for a little bit and see if something happens where he gets one of them big boom games. Maybe he gets 2 in a row or something like that. People's juices start getting flown again, because right now that well is dry.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too. I've kind of had trouble getting decent offers, decent returns at this point. So you guys brought up a very good point. Devin, you got anything you want to throw in, or maybe just stay simple?
I think you guys pretty much nailed it. So yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Jimbo, I'm going to throw it back your direction and your current sell. I'm ready to hear it. Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, man, it's Cooper Kupp. I don't always advocate for selling the wide receiver 1 on a fantasy season, but I do it when it was a historical fantasy season. The dude put up 16 touchdowns. That's unbelievable. Do you know how many guys in the NFL put up 16 touchdowns in a season? There's been 5. Out of those 5, only 2 of them have done it like double digits the next season. One was Randy Moss, who did it 3 times. Unbelievable. The other one's Devontae Adams, who's rolling off of that from 2020 and 2021 with Aaron Rodgers. So to be able to think that he's going to do it again, I think like that's just you're betting on a statistical anomaly happening with all the years of the NFL happening. So for me, I think he's an obvious sell. There seems to also be a stigma about age when it comes to Dynasty, and yet it doesn't happen with Cooper Kupp. Like all these 28-year-old, 29-year-old wide receivers you want to get out from under, all these guys are saying Dynasty. Sell Allen Robinson, sell Amari Rodgers, sell Mike Evans, sell Brandon Cooks, sell Devontae Adams. All these guys are within, I don't know, 6-7 months of age. Brandon Cooks, like it's absolutely crazy to me. The guy comes in and produces. Maybe it's because, Cooper Kupp came in at 23, 24, while these other guys came in at 21, 22. I don't know, because maybe you only got the 3 extra seasons of production in there. But for me, the value you're going to get on him, this is the complete opposite of the Brandon Cooks. He's the anti-Cooks. He's the other side of that coin. The complete value that you're going to get by trading him away from your team is going to greatly outweigh the value that he's going to bring to your team in 2022. I understand he was the wide receiver 4 a couple years ago, but before that, he was wide receiver 53, wide receiver 22. Like he's yo-yoed in and out of there, while Cooks has been strictly consistent. You know what you're getting for him. I kind of tied those 2 guys together there, even in one of the polls. So like I know for a fact that you can trade Cooper Kupp quite easily and get a 23 first and Brandon Cooks, who I don't think the production is going to be that big of a far drop off when it comes to end of season. And speaking of end of season, so 2021 in that historical season, Cooper Kupp had 439 PPR points. Like that was absolutely insane. That's quarterback scoring, man. Next closest wide receiver to him was over 100 points behind him. Like that's insane to me. That is absolutely insane. So like I said, I would be selling him 9 times out of 10, and 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be right on getting the value. The one time in the league where you trade him away and he ends up putting up that historical season, guess what? Okay, you eat it that one time, but 9 times out of 10 with this move, you will be right and you will make your team better. It's all about making your team better, correct? That's what we're all here for. That's my advocation for selling Cooper Kupp. You want to make your team better. 9 times out of 10, selling him at the high point you're going to now is going to make your team better. I'll eat it if it's the one time it's not.
Yeah, I'm super interested to see what kind of a big haul you could get, man. As soon as you mentioned that, I was just kind of thinking of the possibilities that are out there. So I'll ask you guys, what are your thoughts on the selling of Cooper Kupp? I'll start with you, Coach.
Yeah, so I think it's a very interesting question. It probably depends on the landscape of your dynasty team. If I'm contending right now, I'm just going to hold on to Cooper Kupp and kind of ride him because I think he's still going to have a good season. It's probably going to be like, let's just say the average Devontae Adams season. It's not going to be this historical season that it was last year, obviously. And you could make a case that, like, when Michael Thomas had his historical season, what was it, 2 years ago now, where he had all the catches, like, that was the time to sell and get out from him. And it does make sense. And I think it ultimately comes down to what kind of offer you could get for Cooper Kupp too. Like, if somebody offers you like 2023 first and like maybe something else, then I'm probably taking it. But I don't know that many people are going to offer that just because of that age, that age perception that's kind of out there at this point in time. If I'm a team that's contending, I don't have a problem trading for him at this point in time. Obviously, they brought in Allen Robinson, but he still put up numbers last year across from Robert Woods and Odell Beckham Jr., who are no slouches by any means. And I don't know that Allen Robinson's better than those two wide receivers at this point in time. We don't know if last year was just kind of a fluke for him. He just said, screw the Bears, and didn't give a crap, which I've been out there saying was probably the case, but there is a realistic possibility that he's just not good anymore either, or not dominant like he was in a way. And people do sleep on Van Jefferson too. I think he'd be an interesting buy in Dynasty as well, because he was one of, I'm trying to remember the exact stats. It was like 50 receptions, 800 yards, and 6 touchdowns, like one of 20 some receivers that did that last year. It was a very, very small select group. So he's a kind of an interesting one there. I think with Cooper Kupp, it ultimately just comes down to what your team is right now, what you need. If you're a contender, I don't mind holding on to him. If you're not a contender, you should probably be selling him for as much as you can get. And if you're a contender and you can get him on the cheap, why not do it?
Can I just really quickly ask you, even if you're a contender, would you rather have Cooper Kupp or Devontae Adams in 23 second?
Cooper Kupp.
Really?
Yep.
It's tough though for you, isn't it, Craig? You're thinking real hard about that.
That is
I think
a tough
So
one.
even
I think it's so.
like even
I think
that,
it's so.
that
I'm going to say it's Kupp just because he's already tied. Like, I get that Derek Carr and Devontae Adams played college together, but at least Cooper Kupp's played one full season with Matthew Stafford at the NFL level. I think he's got less target competition. I know there's Allen Robinson, Tyler Higbee, and Van Jefferson, but he doesn't have Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow that are going to get targets at least two at the same time. So, and it'll be interesting to see what that offense looks like with Josh McDaniels coming in too and everything. So I kind of like the known more so in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
what
nothing
about
wrong with that.
Tyreek in a second? Who would you rather
Still
have
Cooper.
there? Kupp or Tyreek? Yeah, I'd rather have Cooper than Tyreek in the second, but like Adams in the second, I think I'm taking that all day.
Oh,
I
you
don't
said
think
with the
you're moving
second too?
off on
Yeah.
you get Adams in the second.
Yeah, if I get a second in the 2023 class, I'll do it. Tyreek,
Like
I might
that's
even
my point.
like Tyreek, I might even consider because I don't think 2 is the quarterback pass this year. But that's me.
Because those were the two closest on the polls that I threw up with 58% and 51%. Like it was real close. Like that lateral move for me on wide receiver production. Because again, Devontae Adams not that much older than Cooper Kupp, only a year and a bit. So the lateral move at wide receiver to me and picking up the extra 23 third for me, that's an easy smash. But like I said, that's.
Devin, what are your
Actually,
thoughts?
like-
Did you? Oh, go ahead, Jim. Go ahead. Sorry.
I actually like this comment here that was, who would you rather have two, Debo or Kupp? If they're both ourselves, which one would you guys rather be rolling with?
Oh, Kupp,
Interested in
easy.
Kupp.
Cup, definitely.
Yeah, it's
Me
Kupp
too,
because
but
we've
it's
seen
only
the-
based. Is it based on your trade value for him? Like the value you can get trading him away? Is that play into anything for you guys, or is it strictly talent and situation?
It plays into it for me. I just me, me personally, I would rather have Kupp. It is talent and it is also trade value too as well. I factor in both. But Devin, any thoughts on the Cooper Kupp or that mentioned trade by Jimbo of Devontae Adams in a second for Kupp? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I'm with Jim on the Adams in a second. And then I think the Tyreek one, I think I would take probably Kupp, but I don't know. I would be interested in seeing some more. Maybe have to do some research on some trades that have been done for him. But I would be intrigued to see how much you can get for him. But
Awesome. Yeah. So, Beezy, if you have anything else to add, you can go ahead and do that. And then otherwise, we'll go ahead and get right into your sell right after you're done with that.
Yeah, sounds good, dude. Let me kick into this really quick. So Cup is a hard one, man. I mean, you gotta buy me some beer. You got to give me a little back massage and get the mood going. And if you're gonna come at me for Cup, you know what I mean? I recently made a trade where I traded away Cooper Cup. And I was trying to find it while we were talking, but I couldn't find it. But I pretty much think I know what it was. Before AJ Brown got traded, I traded Cup and Calvin Ridley. This kid had a thing for Calvin Ridley. I don't know why. I got back AJ Brown. I got back Allen Robinson. I got back I think it was a third and something, and there was something else in there too. But essentially, AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp were the two big wide receivers that were in play here. I was a team that was kind of more in not necessarily rebuild, but looking to stack up with some youth. So I decided to kind of push away from a little bit and make that move. But I think he really gave me a lot of beer that time too. So that was kind of that. But I like Kupp a lot. You got to butter me up for him. All right, let's get into the last sell here. This sell is it's a little bit different because the value for him, where you can get him in drafts, is really not that bad, And so Rashad Penny, right now he's sitting somewhere around the pick like 105, 106. So it's not a bad buy in terms of where you're going. Now, I think that this value is going to creep up as redraft season starts to kick off. But the biggest thing with Rashad Penny is this is all fugazi, man. That 5-game stretch got people all excited, got everybody's pants getting tight, and now they're all out there saying Rashad Penny is going to be he's an RB1, baby. He's going to finish as a top 15 running back. Like, get out of here. First off, his first 32 games, he had 200-yard games total in his first 32 games. He had a 2.9% touchdown rate in those games. He had 5 games where he basically tripled his numbers. That's it. All right. Now, here's the thing. Penny gets drafted in the first round, and he essentially loses his workload to Chris Carson, who was a 7th-round draft pick. That's got to open up your eyes a little bit here. So now we're coming into 2022 with Carson still on the team. Prayers up to the guy, man. Carson's a warrior. I love that kid. I hope his neck is fine, but if he's got to retire, he's got to retire, and I wish him the best. But they come out and they get Kenneth Walker, who is one of my favorite running backs in this class. And if you're telling me right now that you think Rashad Penny is going to beat out Kenneth Walker for this majority of touches throughout the season, I'm going to tell you it's not going to happen. So there is a lot of Penny truthers out there, and I've seen some trades going where people are getting the 201, the 202 for Rashad Penny. That's dumb. Those are people who are jumping. So if that's the kind of value that I've been seeing going around in quite a few of my dynasty leagues with a lot of guys right out, from Twitter, I'm taking that all day and running away laughing. So I think as the season goes, as our offseason progresses, redrafts are going to come, and I think people are going to start getting excited again about the Penny train because we'll hear, Coach Carroll speak and blah, 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 blah. This is a good time. If you could get an opportunity to sell him for a second or package him for a little bit more, do it. Save yourself the pain and suffering and just do it. Trust me on this.
I would sell him for a second in a heartbeat. I've never been a big Penny guy. Nothing against the kid, but I'm not with it. And I would take a second right now if somebody sent me that trade. So I'll ask some of you guys. Jimbo, any thoughts on Rashad Penny? How you feel about him?
Oh, man. So I was one of those guys when he got drafted. Hey, he got in the first. He's got to win it. He's got to have opportunity. Egg on my face. Wow. Fuck you, Pete Carroll. The one guy that does not care about draft capital at all. Signs Matt Flynn and then lets Russell Wilson. Good call, by the way, take over, but bad call for signing Matt Flynn. Just absolutely do not care. That my one piece of advice for anybody going into any situation in fantasy football is if you're going on draft capital, throw that right out the window when it comes to a Pete Carroll team. He does not care. He lets the better player play, which is crazy. Crazy philosophy, eh? Like that best man on the field. I mean, who would have thought that? It doesn't always work out that way with most NFL teams. They keep giving these first round guys time and time again, but not Pete. Pete goes with the better hand, and I'm with you, BZ man. Kenneth Walker, pre-draft, I was loving getting him at like the 107, 108 range. I just recently took him at 102 in a league that we're in because I know he won't fall to the 108 range. I have the 102 and the 108. I had to take Walker. You're sitting there at 104. Probably not the best move I probably could have made, but I'm a big fan of Walker. I think he's going to win that job outright. I don't see Chris Carson staying healthy. I see him being the RB2 week 1 already, and by week 5 having a really good, significant role. Everyone's hyping up Devontae Williams. I see nothing different with this kid. Nothing different with the Kenny Walker. So I'm out on Rashad Penny.
Coach, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've never been a Penny guy at all. So you probably should have saw him last year after he had those couple big games. Like that, that's where that was the perfect time, but not many people did that. So if you can get anything for him right now, there's one place I will take some Rashad Penny, and it's just late in best ball drafts at this point in time, because then you don't have to figure out when he's going to do anything. I think him and Walker are probably pretty similar prospects coming out of college. I'll say that, but you also have to take into the fact that Penny has missed is somewhere between 43 to 47% of his career games. Yeah. That's a lot of injuries. I don't care what you ever say. And like the best availability, the best ability is availability. And if you're not going to be available for my fantasy football team, you're probably not going to stick around too long. So there's that.
Devin, anything you'd like to add on Rashad Penny?
Totally agree. Never been high on him. If you can get that second rounder for him, smash that. And yeah, that's nailed it.
Absolutely. So I have a little bit of a surprise for you guys. Brother Matt and I came up with this, idea. We discussed it a few weeks ago, and then we put it together right before the show started. So I'm going to throw a player at each of you. You can give me just a simple buy sell if you want, or you can go a little bit more in depth. So I have one guy for each of you. Beezy, I'm going to start with you if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Delvin Cook.
Oh, now people know me as a Delvin Cook truther from back in the day. But you know what? This is the time you're going to want to sell, in my opinion. He's getting older. I mean, the thing is you're selling Delvin when he's still in what I guess you would consider his prime. So you may take a year where he has a really good year. He finishes as like a top 5 or 6 RB this year. So you can eat that. But if I can move Delvin Cook right now for like an ETN plus, I'm going to look at that real hard. And that's kind of what I've been doing all off season. So I think he is a guy that you do want to try to get ahead of this. The cliff is going to come, and get there before he goes down off of it.
Excellent. Jimbo, your guy is going to be Lamar Jackson. What are your thoughts? Buy or sell?
Oh man, you gotta be buying this cat, man. I don't care about the I can't pass running back accuracy issues that followed him as a rookie and / sophomore. I don't care if he can't win playoff games or Super Bowls, because guess what? We don't play for the playoffs and the Super Bowls. Our Super Bowl's week 17. Like, all I care about is, can you roll from week 1 through 17? And absolutely you can. He's got the tools. He's still an elite quarterback. I don't understand how you couldn't be buying this cat, man. Top five floor is where I see this cat, man. Potential QB1 overall.
I will say that I agree with you. Devin, your player is going to be David Njoku. Buy or sell?
Before we get started, Coach, I do have some Harrison Bryant shares, just so you know.
Boy.
I don't know. You could buy her. There was been a couple leagues where I think there's one league where I found him, on the waiver wire, and maybe that's where he belongs, right, Coach? He just got paid. He just got paid. I think with getting paid, maybe if you could sell him for, probably won't get a whole lot for him, but I'd take a shot on him. I like him. I think that he can produce in that offense this year. So, bye.
Do you think he can produce? I'm just gonna say, do you think he can produce with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback though?
Sure,
it's a great question.
It's an excellent question.
That's a real question.
Coach, I've got a good one for you.
Oh God, it's gonna be like freaking Romeo Dubs.
No. It's Elijah Moore.
God, this is a tough one now because like pre-draft, I was saying like sell them because obviously they were trying to trade for Tyreek Hill. They tried to trade for Deebo Samuel. They were going after a wide receiver one. It was clear as day you could sell him. I don't think he's dropped far enough now that you is wise to buy him or wise. I can't talk right now. Wise to buy him. But if you and really the people that already have Elijah Moore, like truther stands, whatever you want to call them. So they're going to want a lot for him. But if I have him in my league and I can find one of those people and I can get a good value for him, like say you give me like if you give me a 2023 first, I'll trade that for Elijah Moore all day. Like I won't have any questions because I think the wide receivers that are coming up next year, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Kayshon Boutte, Jordan Addison, they're all better than him. I might get a quarterback. There's two that we know that are probably going to be first-round picks. We got a lot of running backs that are very good next year's class. Like any pick that's in the first round next year, I'd probably rather have over Elijah Moore.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate all of you being here. Before we head out, I'm going to throw it to Beezy. He is going to tell us about our good friends over at Viridian Global.
Oh, yes, our friends over at Viridian Global. It is summertime. We were all getting our Speedo bodies ready for the beach. So head on over to the old Viridian Global and go get yourself some Sons of Dynasty gear, get yourself some Gold Jackets gear, get yourself some of your favorite fantasy apparel for the summer. And, get it for your whole fam. I mean, your kid wants a shirt, your wife wants a shirt. Everybody needs hats. Best spot to go, Viridian Global. Go get it.
Absolutely. And as Beezy mentioned at the top of the show, Dynasty Sons and SODFS is now partnered with Fantasy Points Media Group. You can go over there and use the code SONS22 for 10% off at fantasypoints.com. They have tons and tons of great content. As we mentioned, Graham Barfield's Stat Pack. They're doing college football stuff, PGA, anything you could ever want. Go to fantasypoints.com, use promo code SONS22 for 10% off. I also want to tell you or say a big thank you to Brother Matt. He is here. He's behind the camera. He does a ton of work behind the scenes, making us look good and making us sound good. He's an excellent graphic artist, an excellent producer. So, Brother Matt, I thank you very, very much for all your hard work and for being here. And then go to the Sons of Dynasty YouTube page, too. If you want to do us the smallest favor in the world, it will mean everything. Go over there, give us a subscribe, watch a couple of videos, throw a like in, throw a comment. Give us your feedback on the players. You don't even have to agree with us, but we would greatly appreciate a subscription over at Sons of Dynasty on YouTube. So, Beezy, thank you for being here. Rusty, it was a pleasure. Coach, as always, and Jimbo, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you check out the Gold Jackets podcast. They do excellent content over there. So thank you guys all very, very much for being here. And with that, we will see you guys in 3 weeks with another show. Dan and I are recording some short clips for YouTube this coming next weekend, so watch out for that. Until next time, much love.
Peace.
Yeah.